Good morning, Dawson County Middle School. I hope you had a great weekend and I hope your Monday is off to a great start. Today we're going to be reviewing our middle school iPad expectations. We reviewed these back at the beginning of the school year during our digital citizenship courses, but we've decided we probably need to review them again just so we can make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as the expectations go and that you're aware of how you should be using your iPad for communication. So I'm going to start this presentation by just first reviewing what we reviewed during digital citizenship last year. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller. Bring your iPad to every class fully charged. Never log into your Apple ID with a personal ID. Your iPad is probably locked with your school ID in there, so you can't log in with a personal ID, but if for some reason it got unlocked, you wouldn't want to log in with your Apple ID from your personal ID. Keep your iPad clean, don't mark on it or apply stickers. We've been having iPad checks and I'm really pleased with the outcome of those. I've had very few violations as far as stickers or markings on the iPad, so you're taking really good care of your iPads. Our damages are also down, and I've been impressed with the fact that we have not had as many damages at this point as we did last year. So you're taking really good care of your iPads. We have had some damages that have occurred with iPads being placed on the floor. So you just want to be really careful about not putting your iPad on the floor, even in the gym. Put it in a sling bag, put it in your book bag. Don't put it where someone would step on it accidentally. In the room, you want to make sure it's either under your desk or on your desk or in your bag. Just be really careful. We've also had a couple damaged in the bathrooms with them being stepped on. You shouldn't take your iPad in the bathroom with you. You should go ahead and take it to class before you go to the bathroom so that you don't have to worry about somebody else picking it up. So make sure that you're doing that. And again, I'm really impressed with the fact that we have not had as many damages as we had last year. Don't share your iPad with others. Keep your passwords secure. And number 5, we've made a slight change to this expectation. This one says you are supposed to use your iPad for school use only. No gaming or using the Google Suite to chat and send messages to friends. We've added that sentence that includes using the Google Suite to chat or send messages to friends because we are currently having some issues with that. The Google Suite is Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets. That's part of the Google Suite, and that includes your email. So if you create a Google Doc and you share it with friends and you're chatting on that Google Doc, that's a technology violation. We are perfectly okay with you chatting about a group presentation or a group project that you're completing with someone, or sharing that document so that you can both work on it, or sharing the Google slide so that you can all work on it. But you're not supposed to create a Google slide and attach selfies and send them back and forth to each other. That's a technology violation and it can get your iPad revoked. So you want to be really careful about that. Don't send inappropriate emails with your iPad. Your emails are monitored with our Gaggle system, and we talked about that as well during digital citizenship, and we'll talk about it some more later in the presentation. Don't take your iPad home until after you've completed the digital citizenship course. For new students, that means you're going to get with your tutorial teacher and figure out where the files are. They're in your tutorial course in Schoology. And they can help you review those videos and take the digital citizenship course and assessment. Keep your iPad in your sling bags. We've talked about this a little bit already when you're transitioning from class to class. Carry your iPad with 2 hands and don't walk with it open. We did have a student that busted her iPad by walking with it, trying to read with the iPad and walk, and she ended up running into somebody and dropping the iPad. So be careful about that. You want to just make sure you close it up before you transition from class to class. So that's a real quick review. I also want to talk about communication expectations, which this one kind of refers back to number 5. Your school email address should only be used for educational purposes only. That means you're not emailing somebody up just to say, hey, what's up? I don't like this class that I'm in now. I really wish that we could go home today. That's not an educational purpose. If you're emailing a teacher or the administrative staff or another student about a group project, that's an educational purpose. You wouldn't want to create an email string with others just to chat. This email address should not be used as a communication forum for chats or messages to friends or family. You use the email address to create messages to teachers, admin, and or peers when you're working on group projects. All right, so let's just make sure that you're clear about what you need to do with your school email address. The Google Suite is monitored by Gaggle. That means your Google Docs, your Google Slides, your Google Sheets, your Gmail is monitored by a Gaggle system. And I'll talk more about what the Gaggle system is in our next slide. If you use Google Slides or Docs or Sheets to create a chat forum or to create a place to chat with your friends, this is a technology violation and grounds for a referral. That referral may include your iPad being revoked. And what happens if your iPad is revoked? You may lose the privilege of using an iPad or any other technology. So that means that your teachers would have to come up with hard copy assignments for you because you can't use your iPad. Or it means you can't take your iPad home and you may or may not need it for a group project or homework. When it's revoked, it means it stays in the cart in the media center until the revocation period is over. So you definitely don't want that to happen. What's Gaggle? This is a question that I've had from parents and from students. It's a safety management system that includes an expert team of student safety representatives who review content for violations of our school's internet safety policies. The system monitors Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, and email along with other Apple apps on your iPad or device. So that means that it's constantly looking inside your iPad, at your apps, at your Google Suite, and it's monitoring you for technology violations. The Internet Safety Policy is something that your parents signed when you completed your returning student registration. So they may or may not have reviewed that with you, but if they didn't, then they can log back in at any time and take a look at it. That means that you have agreed to our rules and our policies and our expectations for your iPad. So that means you've agreed not to use inappropriate language in Google Docs. You've agreed not to use inappropriate language in your email. You've agreed not to use your Google Suite as a chat forum. So that means if you do that, it's a violation. And if our Gaggle system catches it, you're going to get a warning. So you'll get a warning by email that says, hey, you have a technology violation. Most of the time, unless it's something really serious, the warning will just come to you. Your second warning comes to the administrative team. That means I get an email, Ms. White gets an email, Dr. Sagona gets an email, Ms. Lefevre gets an email, and we all know what the technology violation is because it usually includes the document that you wrote in or the Google slide. In some situations, this has been pretty embarrassing for students because that's shared with all of us and we see it. Any mention of cyberbullying, drugs, or alcohol or pornography is forwarded to the school or district emergency contacts, which can include law enforcement. So if you're doing something that is a serious violation, it may or may not go to someone other than us. So you want to just be really careful with what you're sending by email. Don't send pictures. Don't take selfies. Don't copy and paste song lyrics. This happened recently. Someone copied some song titles. The song titles had names that were inappropriate, so that was a technology violation. So be very careful. Make sure that what you're using the Google Suite for is for an educational purpose. So we wanted to take this opportunity just to go over that and make sure that you know, because we feel like some of you may be thinking, oh, I don't have text messages, or I'm not able to use a text to text my friends, so I'm just going to use my iPad. That's definitely not a good decision. You want to make sure that you're using it appropriately. I want to revert to some frequently. Let me go back to skip over to our PROW matrix. The iPad is on here. This is an expectation for you that we've included in our PROW matrix and our school expectations. Do the right thing with the iPad. To persevere means that you are using it the right way even when no one is watching. We don't always see you create a Google Doc or a Google slide. You're doing the right thing, you're persevering, and you're adhering to our school expectations when you're doing it when nobody's watching. Reach out with kindness. Use your iPad for positive educational activities. The key word is educational here. Make sure everything that you're using it for is for an educational purpose. You're doing your homework, you're doing your group projects, you're using it for Schoology, you're using the apps that teachers tell you to use. That's reaching out with kindness. Own your actions. Be honest when you're using the iPad and report problems or damages. So here's where I want to talk to you about one of the frequently asked questions. What happens if somebody shares a document with you? You don't have to open it. That's owning your actions. Someone shares a Google slide with you just so they can invite you to participate in a chat. If you open it, then we know you've opened it. You can ignore the email. Be courteous. That's what it means to be willing to put others first, our W in our proud matrix. Be courteous to others while waiting your turn at the iPad cart. We've had several iPads that were damaged in the cart or at the cart. So just make sure that when you are putting them away, you're following your teacher's proud expectations. You're making sure that you're following the classroom procedures for that, and be careful with your iPad. Lead with integrity. Always set a good example when using your iPad and charge it daily. So leading with integrity means setting a good example. You're not setting a good example if you're using your iPad for anything other than educational purposes. So be really careful with that one. We want you leading with integrity at all times with your iPad. So I'm going to go back to some frequently asked questions. What happens when a doc or slide is shared with me that includes a chat that's a tech violation? This has been a common question for me, especially with students that have received their first warning. If you don't open it, you're not included in the tech violation. If you open it, the document history from that document shows that you are part of that conversation and you've created a technology violation. What happens when I get a gaggle warning to my email? In most cases, you get the first warning. The admin team is alerted when you get the second warning. So just know that the gaggle system is constantly monitoring it. If you get an email and you have a question about it, you've got that first email, we didn't get it, and you want to come talk to me, feel free to come up and say, hey, Miss Westbrook, I got an email. I don't know what it means. I can't figure it out what I did. Come talk to me about it. It would be better to do that than to wait and get your second warning. By then, it's too late, because by then the whole admin team's got the email and you've created a technology violation that there will be consequences for. So I hope this helps clarify some of the expectations as far as the iPad and how you should be using it to communicate. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop by the Media Center, ask your teacher, ask any of the administrative staff. We can clarify how you need to use it if you have questions about whether or not you can do something. And then as always, be on the prowl, persevere, reach out with kindness, own your actions, be willing to put others first, and lead with integrity. Have a great day, Dawson County Middle School.